tour guide to the dark side of biohacking.
This little blue pill right here is DOXYLAMINE. It's an antihistamine for sleep. Connor Murphy, you saw me take this the other night, and what happened?
Yeah, so all of a sudden, Tony just seemed like really sleepy. And this was not an ordinary occurrence because Tony has actually had a lot of trouble sleeping recently. He's been trying to find all different types of solutions, whether it be... Can I talk about all this?
You can't talk about ladyboys in this episode, right?
Okay. Well, I wasn't thinking about that. Can I talk about all the different substances you've tried to sleep? We can talk about weed, right, on here. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've tried weed to go to sleep. That seems to help a little bit. And yes, of course, ladyboys, we all know that when you ejaculate, that tends to calm you down and relax you and help you go to sleep more.
But why can't you just ejaculate with a girl?
Well, I think there's something about the masculinity of ladyboys that tires you out a little more and can probably contribute to a higher sleep quality, but I'm not sure. So, but yeah, Tony, he was very drowsy, and I was like, wow, this is cool, and you ended up getting a good sleep, right?
I was yawning. I don't usually yawn. I was yawning, and my eyelids were so heavy that I couldn't keep my eyelids open. Now, I took a whole pill of DOXYLAMINE. They're usually 15 to 25 milligrams. I wouldn't recommend taking a whole one. Definitely not the first time. But that's funny because usually a lot of medications are underdosed, and here's one that one pill would knock me out dangerously.
Were you tired in the morning when you woke up? Because I believe that has a relatively long half-life, 12 hours or something like that. So theoretically, you should have been a little groggy in the morning. But
a little bit is going to be in my system the whole next day,
right.
But I was a little bit drowsy in the morning. On the other hand, I had such a good night's sleep that I felt quite refreshed. But I'm sure that my REM sleep suffered. And I'll talk about that in a minute because I may have some solutions. But this blue pill right here is sold in America over counter. Very common. It's called Sleep Aid. It's in NyQuil. You've tried NyQuil or antihistamines for sleep?
I've never tried NyQuil, but I don't even know if I've ever specifically used antihistamines for the purpose of sleep. But I've used other allergy medicines for the purpose of sleep. So I actually used to experiment with large doses of Benadryl for long car rides. And
that is an antihistamine.
Is Benadryl technically an antihistamine?
It's very similar to this.
Okay.
But Benadryl can make some people actually more irritable and give them restless leg syndrome and make it harder to sleep. But it's a different from person to person, so it's something that's worth experimenting with because some people sleep really well on Benadryl and some people don't sleep very well on Benadryl. And how do you know unless you try? And it's very common. People take Benadryl every time they have an allergic reaction. When you have like a rash or something from some plant, or Benadryl is the first line of treatment that they give you for that, but it also makes you sleep. So people sometimes take it just for the purpose of sleep, even if they have no allergies. Yeah, but it's not always healthy to use antihistamines for sleep. But yeah, I'm going to give some protocols for that. But first, the reason why I wanted to talk about it being over the counter is I don't want you guys to think this is some like powerful underground medicinal thing. I'm choosing my words carefully because everybody's getting censored lately based on just the AI picking apart what they're saying. But this is like over the counter. And here in Thailand, you just buy it from any pharmacy. And it's very effective for sleep. And it is FDA approved. And the dosage is 15 to 25 milligrams. But I think that the solution is, because see how it was too powerful for me? I think the solution is to take a very small fraction of that dosage. Okay. Even a third of a 25 milligram pill or a half of a 15 milligram pill, I think is plenty. And then we'd be much less drowsy in the morning. So I would also not take this every night because I believe it's going to interfere with REM sleep. REM sleep requires your brain to be more active, and this really slows your brain down. And it directly interferes with the acetylcholine pathway in the brain, which is what contributes to quality REM sleep. Remember, we did videos before about how to increase REM sleep, and all the things that we mentioned involved increasing the activity of acetylcholine in the brain. And antihistamines decrease, well, I should say especially DOXYLAMINE. Other antihistamines maybe not as much, but DOXYLAMINE definitely interferes with acetylcholine pathway. I mean, it's one of the reasons why it makes you sleepy, because your brain starts working slower. But the problem is you want your brain working for REM sleep. So the key is, how do we find a way to be able to use an antihistamine and get the benefits of sleep without the side effects of losing REM sleep, and then we don't feel as rested mentally. Because, REM sleep is more for your brain and the deep sleep is more for your body. So it's like your brain isn't doing the repairs that it needs to do at the end of the day if you're missing REM sleep. So my hypothesis is that we need to test more. Maybe we take an antihistamine on nights that we think we're going to have a really hard time sleeping, because it's better to get some deep sleep without REM sleep than it is to get no sleep at all. Mm-hmm. But then have other nights where we focus on getting REM sleep. Or maybe we take something to increase the acetylcholine activity in our brain when we're on an antihistamine. The question is the acetylcholine pathway supplement that we're going to take going to be powerful enough to overcome the antihistamine interfering with the pathway? I don't know. This takes experimentation, but it would make sense that the lower the dosage of the antihistamine and the higher the dosage of the acetylcholine supplement, then maybe it could overpower it. Some examples of the acetylcholine pathway supplements would be things like nicotine, or racetams like piracetam. There's so many I don't want to mention because they're a little bit too powerful, but basically things that make your brain work better, like nootropics, which you would think you would not take before sleep because that's what you take in the daytime to be more alert. But when your brain is going through REM sleep, your brain is actually working, but it's working at cleaning itself up. And in order to do that, it needs to have the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, and it needs to be able to use it efficiently and not be interfered with by an antihistamine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I say that this is okay to use. I say it's better to use in a smaller dosage, a third or a half of a pill, and not all the time, because you can go with less REM sleep sometimes, but not every night, because then the side effects of lack of REM sleep are going to aggregate over time. Mm-hmm. But it's similar to weed. When people use weed to sleep, they feel like they're getting good sleep, but then their brain's actually not quite rested the next day because they didn't dream, they didn't get REM sleep. And so it's better for people who are sleeping using weed to take days off of weed so their brain can catch up on the REM sleep. And there is a catch up. How do we know there's a catch up? Because a lot of people experience like way more dreaming, way more vivid dreams when they come off weed than when they were on weed. And that's the brain catching up on its REM sleep. So it really does. It's not just a 24-hour cycle. I think sleep cycle's like 24 hours, but you can kind of catch up after that. So as long as you had really good REM sleep 3 nights a week, that's substantially better than having no REM sleep all week. And a lot of people are really having terrible REM sleep because they're using sleeping pills to sleep too deep. So they're getting deep sleep, but they're not getting REM sleep. It's like the sleeping pills that quiet your brain enough to get deep sleep also quiet your brain too much so that you skip REM sleep. This is the problem.
Yeah, and that's interesting. That's a pretty good natural indicator of whether you're getting enough REM sleep, or if you took too much of this substance and got too much deep sleep, it's how much you're dreaming. Did you notice that you dreamt that night, or were you completely dreamless when you took this substance we're talking about?
I don't dream anymore.
Oh, well, probably because you use weed a little too much. Well, but that would be interesting to see if you could activate the acetylcholine pathway, if that could improve your propensity to dream. So, or do you have to completely come off these substances that perpetuate your deep sleep in order to dream? Right? That's the question.
I could take things to increase the acetylcholine pathway in my brain and increase REM sleep, but it is also more likely to keep me awake.
Right.
So yeah, I'll try taking something like this, and I'll try taking it along with nicotine and CDP choline and a racetam, like piracetam, for example, and let's see if I can dream.